Ladies and gentlemen, don't worry, if you have a television less than 60 inches, you will not be able to tell the difference between the Xbox One and PlayStation 4's resolution. At least according to Microsoft. In this RedGamingTech.com video, we're going to be discussing just that. So, Harvey Eagle, who is Microsoft's UK marketing executive, has decided to once again reignite the rage and the fires regarding the whole resolution issue. He said if you put third-party games side by side, they're running at slightly different resolutions or frame rates, then unless you're on a screen more than 60 inches big, I defy you, might I add, to really see the difference. I personally struggle. He also says, and I quote, "I think the perception challenge, absolutely, it's important, certainly. It's something that the media certainly picked up on. If the lead of perception is one machine is more powerful than another, the important, and we're trying to allow developers to bring the game for Xbox One the highest resolution of frame rate as possible." This was in an interview, by the way, with CBG. So, I've got a few problems with that statement. First of all, you don't need a TV that's like 60 inches big. Now, I understand that then you start having issues with like PPI, and yes, it does definitely become a bigger deal, but come on now. It's not that difficult at all. For example, I do video editing. I've got like a triple monitor setup, and I'll do video editing on some of the graphics comparisons on like a 24-inch screen. Like I've got like a preview monitor on like 24-inch, and I can tell which one it is. Plus, as well, sometimes the Xbox One version has inferior shadows or inferior lighting or whatever, and you can blatant. And I'm sorry, screen size does not make a difference when it comes to resolution. Frame rate. It just doesn't. For example, PC gamers back in the day, many of us were playing on 15-inch CRTs, and we could bloody well tell what the frame rate was. You know, it's not too difficult. If something feels laggy and jerky, then you could tell that even on like a 7-inch mobile device, just for example. So, the reason I dislike this, the reason I dislike these comments quite a bit from Microsoft is I understand PR. I do understand it. But at the same time, these are not good comments to make because they just piss people off. There are going to be some people, sure, who maybe believe this, but if you objectively played both games, and I've set both systems up, and I can tell what version is playing what. And this is the same, by the way, from if I'm playing the PC. It's just obvious that, okay, I just played the PC. In fact, if you go from one version to another, there are times, like for example, when I was playing Destiny, and basically what happens is when we're doing like frame rate and graphics tests and stuff, I have like a friend who comes over with, brings his Xbox One. He does like the odd video for us, but basically he came over with his Xbox One, and we were playing Watch Dogs, and he doesn't even own a PlayStation. He says, "Yeah, I can tell that this is, this version." And we didn't even, even just blindly, someone else came into the room and said, "That's the Xbox One version, right?" They literally just saw it. You can just tell. And that's not to say that the Xbox One version looks bad. I'm just saying that to, blindly say that 60 inches is what you need, it's just not good. This is the type of thing that gets negative marketing. You're better off just to leave the comments and just to admit, not come out verbally and admit that the system's weaker, but just to not mention it anymore and just focus on the games instead. It's like, for example, the perception of the machine is more powerful. It's not the perception. The specs are out. You've pretty much admitted it, because you've had other comments that basically have said, there's no hidden GPU inside the Xbox One. A couple of them have even said that DirectX 12 isn't going to make that much of a difference. I don't know how true that is, but regardless. So look, we know that the Xbox One's not as powerful. It's cool, as long as the games are great, but don't try to fob us off and say, you need like a certain screen size. Yes, it's going to be more noticeable if you've got a larger screen, but it just makes you look worse. Really is what it comes down to, in my personal opinion anyway. And you know what? even for me, who's a bit of a graphics whore, I do typically play the PC version just simply because of better looking graphics. But when I'm doing the testing on one console or whatever, one version, it doesn't mean I'm having less fun. The game still plays pretty awesomely as long as, the frame rate doesn't tank all the way down to like 3 frames a second, and it doesn't. Most games now play pretty nice. Then who cares at the end of the day? It runs well. If it runs well, if it plays well, then sure, you're definitely going to get some people who want to get the better graphical version. I understand that. But at the same time, if I had no friends who had, let's say, the PlayStation version, and at the same time I had, say, 3 friends who own the Xbox One version, I would definitely get the Xbox One version if it was an online game, for example, because well, the extra resolution is nice, but it's a competitive online shooter, so I want to play with other people. You see how that... It's a really tricky thing. So, just push your strengths, push the system's, great points, like the new Halo that's coming out, the exclusive games, and I honestly think that in some ways, the Microsoft's games lineup is actually slightly stronger than the PlayStation. I like that, but don't try to make these arguments. It just doesn't work for you. Anyway, that's just my opinion, anywho. So I'll leave you guys to it. Take care, and bye for now.